for joining us today. I call the December 17, 2020 meeting of the Human Relations Commission to order. As we begin our virtual meeting for the commissions, please off if you are not speaking. When you do, please make sure to say your name to help Miranda with the note-taking. With that, let's begin with an introduction of commissioners and members. I am Mlk Ali, Chair.
Ahmed Chill here.
Barry Nelson here.
Cody Severson here, Vice Chair.
Cheryl Schafel here.
Leticia Hellerud, Commissioner.
Hamida Dakane, member.
Amita, I think you are sharing your screen.
I am not. This thing is just moving around. Got it. No. I don't know if I was trying to unmute myself and then it turns to be I'm sharing the screen. So. Okay.
We can go on with other members on the call here with us to share the names.
John Strand, Fargo City Commission Liaison.
This is Abdiwali Sharif, Human Relations Commission member. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. We have Lieutenant Benson as well there. We have Mike. Did I get everyone? I think I have. Okay, with that, the next item is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. This is Barry.
Thank you, Barry. Can I second?
I second to approve the motion.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Our next item is to approve the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Barry. I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Barry. May I get a second?
This is Cheryl. I'll second.
Do that.
Cheryl, and all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. The next item here is a public comment. Those who wish to address the Human Relations Commission must use the sign-in sheets. The speakers must state their name and will be limited to 2 minutes. Comment should not contain profanity or personal attacks. The staff, do we have anyone sign up for the public comment or on the phone?
Not any on the phone that I'm aware of, and no one is in the chambers.
Thank you. If there's anyone present want to speak, okay. The next item is a presentation from City Administration about the City of Fargo Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion position. Afterward, we will approve HRC representative later. So can I get that? Can we go with the presentation?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time. And most importantly, thank you for your service to the city of Fargo on this important commission. We do appreciate it very much. What I'm going to do today is just provide a very brief overview of what our draft position description looks like for the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, then also tell you a bit about our timeline and what it is we're asking your commission to do to help us out with that process. So in your packet is an overview of our schedule of what we hope to do here in January and February, getting this position posted and getting it advertised across the country.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Can we all mute ourselves, please? If you're not speaking, we're hearing a lot of echo coming back. Yes, go ahead, Michael. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. And so in early 2021, we're going to finish our recruitment for the position. We're going to be advertising locally, regionally, and even nationally to try to get into a variety of publications to identify a candidate that we think could be a good fit for this position. And so by mid-February, we want to wrap up our interview process, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, and then hopefully get someone here in Fargo in the springtime, March, maybe April, depending on the relocation and if they need to move to the community. So I thought I'd very briefly just talk about the selection committee and what it is we're asking this commission to consider. Our selection committee is going to be comprised of elected officials, appointed officials, as well as members from our Human Relations Commission, as well as the Native American Commission. And so we met most recently with the Native American Commission last week, and we received a name from the Native American Commission to assist on the selection committee. We're asking the same of the Human Relations Commission. We're looking for one member from your commission to serve on the selection committee and assist us in screening candidates. And they'll be joined by Commissioner Arlette Preston, Mayor Mahoney, Bruce Grubb, the city administrator, myself, a planning department representative from the staff, as well as our human resources department, who will assist us in facilitating that process. And so we're looking forward to getting it underway. And again, we would really be interested in hearing from your commission about who you would like to appoint to this important review committee so that we have an individual that can represent you. I thought I would also just mention briefly from the job description that we included in the packet that we are really hoping that this position becomes on a contract basis. We're going to try this out in the next year in 2021, but a position that both is available to work on internal initiatives, working with our departments, working with the Human Resources Department, but then also an entity that can go out into the community and really work with the various commissions that we do have today, like yours, like community development, as well as be working in the community to try to build relationships with other entities like Fargo Public Schools, West Fargo Public Schools, as well as our various nonprofit organizations. So this will be a contract position, as I mentioned, and something that is not uncommon for us. We try things out. We've got a good job description. We're going to see how we do in our search, but we're going to just also modify that as we think about the future. And if the commission decides, city commission decides to make this a permanent position, make sure that we really get a good permanent job description that fits what we want here for the community as well as the organization. So I'm happy to answer any questions about our job description, why we put together what we did, but more importantly, again, just thank you for your service and also just ask for your consideration in appointing someone to assist us in the important screening work that lies ahead for this position. I'm also joined today with me is Jill Manette. She is our HR director, and she's also available to answer any questions that you might have about our process and what we'll do here in early 2021. So with that, I'll just leave it there and happy to answer any questions you have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I had someone approach me and ask me how long is the contract and what's the pay grade? If that's something you can...
Yeah, absolutely. So the contract position will be for the year 2021. And as this commission knows, our budget process in the city of Fargo is one that starts really in the summertime and takes us through early fall. So I'm imagining that by the time we get somebody here, it's going to be just a few short months after that we're going to be making that evaluation for 2022 and beyond about whether to convert this into a full-time permanent position and add it to the authorized staffing level, or if it's something that we want to modify and go in a slightly different direction. So it will be a contract position to start. Our pay range and our salary, I'm going to defer to Jill. She would have the exact number, but it will be a senior level position. It's going to be somebody that's working with our elected officials, working with our cabinet, which is all of our senior staff, our department heads throughout the organization will also be made available to be working elsewhere within the organization, our first line supervisors and elsewhere in the department. So Jill, if you can just help me out on the exact point and grade and where we ended up on the pay side, please.
Sure. Yeah, good afternoon. So we, once the initial draft job description was developed, we went through our internal rating process that we use to determine the pay grade assignment. And so the position is placed in a grade 16. So just to give you an idea, the range is roughly 75,000 to 98,000 annually. And as Mike said, if that position changes and evolves over time, then we certainly would look to reevaluate the appropriate placement within our pay system.
Thanks, Jill. Any other questions that we can answer for this commission today?
This is Carolyn.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Okay. Just to clarify, you said that you hope to bring somebody on in March or April, yet your budget ends in the summer. So are you going to have it go through into 2021, all the way through for a year and then evaluate, or are you going to evaluate after 3 months?
Yeah, so my comment about the budget process in the summertime is the 2022 budget. So we have funds contained for the entire year of 2021. And so we'll finish our recruitment and our screening and selection process in early February. If we are able to get somebody here in February or in early March, we'll certainly get the person lined up at that time. If it's more of a national relocation that might take a bit more time, I think that is an open question. We will have the resources and the ability to carry over into early 22 in that regard, but we will need to be making a decision by late summer about whether to convert the position or modify the position into a full-time one that is permanent to the staffing levels. So we do have a funding that's available for that entire year. This is one of only, I believe, 2.25 FTEs approved in the entire overall city budget for 2021. We have a staffing level that's just up over 970 full-time equivalents. And in a very, very tight budget year, this was one position of just a very, very small handful that were approved by the City Commission in the 21 budget adoption process.
Well, I guess my concern is that if the person comes in on late and then there's this time squeeze, will there be enough time to give a fair evaluation to the person before you make a decision whether to go on? That was my concern.
I think that's a very fair point. And I think one other option that we could consider, if we say found the right candidate, but the person said, you know, I'm also involved with something right now, but I'm just not available until April or May or June even. I think you're correct. We would want to make sure that we give that opportunity for the person to succeed and to really kind of shape and form the position in their mind and in their vision. And so I think that is something that we could also consider even at mid-year in 2022. That's not uncommon for the city to consider mid-year budget adjustments or staffing level requests. That would allow us the opportunity to really evaluate and give it more than just that 3 months or 4 months to see what kind of the work product looks like, what the outcomes are looking like. And I think that's a completely legitimate, fair point, just to make sure that we give it time to demonstrate success before making a judgment on 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On that question again, is not coming clear to me, I suppose. So is it contracted for the 3 months or throughout until December 2021?
Yeah, we have resources to pay for the full-time position for an entire 12-month period. So we will have resources even with an aggressive hiring and somebody available, say on February 15th, you would still have, in that case, 6 weeks of budget that would not be expended. So yes, it was a full year funded position.
Yes, and I have a question too. This is Abdiwali. About this position, as you described, is very important. I was just curious or wondering why is it contract instead of being part of the city or a regular employee? Why is contracted?
Thank you for the question. And the answer to that is that because this is a brand new position to the organization, one we have not had before, we really want to make sure we get this right. So this is not an uncommon approach in the city organization to, with a brand new service line, look at a contract position first and then make evaluation about the kinds of outcomes and the kinds of activities that it is doing, and then make adjustments. As Jill mentioned earlier, if we find that our candidate is far surpassing the expectations outlined in our initial job description, we want to make sure we get that right and get the salary right long-term before we lock in to a long-term civil service type position and one that would be a part of the permanent staffing level. It may also be something that we evaluate after the contract period and say, you know what, we liked this, but we want to change this and actually repurpose this and go in maybe a slightly different direction, use some other contract resources to do something else. So I think that because it's brand new to us, it was really, we thought, the best and most prudent approach to try something out first, like we have done with other positions, and then see what it looks like at the end of the year and determine if we want to make some modifications or adjustments before making it a full-time permanent position. But I do want to emphasize this is going to be a full-time benefited position for the year that the contract exists. It is not part-time work at 20 hours. It will be 40-hour-a-week work.
This is Barry. Michael, thank you for being with us today. Thanks for presenting this. And I want to commend the commission for this really timely decision. I think it's a really important one. It's the right one to be doing at this time with our community. So kudos to all of you. My question would be, I admittedly have not scrutinized the job description real carefully, but I'm just wondering, it seems heavy on academic background, experience. I understand that for this level of position. I'm just wondering what weight would be given to life experiences. I think this is a kind of a critical factor for this kind of position, working not only with departments, but with the unique populations that this person would be representing. So can you speak to that at all, whether that was discussed and whether or not life experiences could be considered as one of the factors?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. And if you look in the job description, it'd be page 3 of the job description is where we describe the minimum qualifications. And we were trying to strike that balance of trying to make sure that a person possessed the appropriate education to come in and experience to come in and try really stand up this program and activity in a good way, but then also make sure that we weren't too onerous on years of experience requirements or education requirements that you had to have a master's degree or that you had to have a PhD, for example. That was something that as we looked across the country and we looked at sample job descriptions, we probably ended up being, I would say, a little bit lighter on the years of experience requirements relative to other similar positions at the director level in other organizations. I was just looking at one recently at the same time we were putting the finishing touches on our position description that had many, many more years of experience required and actually ended up placing a gentleman in the position with a PhD. And so we aren't necessarily aspiring to that. We wanted to make sure that in this case, if you had 5 years of experience and you had a bachelor's degree in psychology, sociology, education, public or business administration, political science, ethnic studies, communication, or a closely related field, that would qualify and get you through the door for consideration. And so we thought that that was a good place to start. If you possess the master's degree, that's great. If you possess really good real world experience from other, say, nonprofit service, we want to hear about that. And I think that we've left it open enough that we can do just that. Barry, to your point about life experience counting for quite a bit. So we're hoping with the bachelor's requirement, that would be something that plus a combination of good experience could really get us a good candidate. But again, also not aspiring to a master's requirement, a PhD. That would be more of an academic officer that you would find on a college campus. And that's really the other research that we identified, was that it would not be uncommon in a large system or a large university that your chief equity officer would possess the PhD. That would be the terminal degree that in many cases the academic setting would require. We don't, and we just feel that would be something that is not necessary here.
Thank you. And another question, I appreciate you talking about the thought process has gone into in terms of how to get the word out and do some marketing. I'm just wondering if there's real specific plans that would make sure this is getting out to the market areas that we really truly want to be recruiting from. And I think particularly of BIPOC communities, both locally and nationally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you bet. I'd be happy just to summarize very briefly where we will be posting the position description. And in addition to our local advertising, with the Forum and Jobs HQ, Job Service North Dakota, we're going to go to the National League of Cities, the International City County Management Association, the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, the National League of Cities, the National Civic League. And then we identified 3 different diversity job and position opening websites, diversityjobsboard.com, diversityjobs.com, diversity.com, and then a couple of other organizations as well, is Twitter and LinkedIn, and as well as the League of Cities for North Dakota and the League of Cities for Minnesota. So we're trying to, again, balance that saturation both nationally as well as locally and regionally with good placements. So we did identify a few particular groups that we think can help us reach a pool of diverse candidates.
Michael, this is Leticia, and I have a question. If we found a qualified applicant in other cities, would the city help with the relocation expenses?
Yes, we have done that in the past with certain positions, and that I think would certainly be a consideration that could be negotiated with a successful candidate here as well. We most recently have done that with our police chief, for his relocation here, and so that's not an uncommon or unusual practice for us. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I should also add back to Barry's question, the Native American Commission also provided us a couple of organizations to also add to our list for advertising and just awareness that were specifically getting into the indigenous communities, and they could help us reach perhaps members from those communities as well. So that I didn't reference, but that came up in our Native American Commission discussion.
This is Cody. Michael, question for you really quick as well. If there are any the avenues that you're going down to get into people with disabilities as well, to get into those communities, if there's any specified venues for that.
Yeah, we absolutely could. And so to that end, if this commission has examples of other organizations that you think we could add to our list, by all means, please do submit them to us, through staff. That'd be fantastic, and we'd be happy to do that. So if you are aware of a group that has a job board, we're more than happy to do that. We've built in extra time with this recruitment and solicitation to make sure that our HR team has the time to get into these various publications, national websites. This will have a much, much greater degree of advertising and outreach attached to it just by its very nature of the position. And I think that's great. So if you have some good tips for us, please do share.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Yeah, go ahead, Amit.
No, I just have a comment. In regards to the term being only a year, is that a common practice? I think you said it was a common practice but I'm just really, really concerned. We have a lot of individuals in our communities that would definitely qualify and do a great job. But my concern or worry is it would definitely defer them from applying just because it's a position that it's going to be a year or less or so. Is it a common practice that the city starts with contracts just to try it out? Because to me, I see this position being, a very important position that the community really does need. So I'm just kind of stuck in my head that it's just a tryout.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. We were really trying to strike a balance with trying to get something substantive enough, comprehensive enough that we felt good advertising it and getting somebody here, but then also not locking ourselves into a position description that couldn't be changed, down the road or later. And so we thought that the contract, I think that our commissioners felt that the contract was a reasonable step into this world, and knowing that we can make some adjustments and modification. I can't speak to, the number of positions in total. I'd have to defer to Jill that we've started this way, but I would just say that it's not uncommon for us to do this simply because it's not like something we routinely hire, like a police officer position, a solid waste operator position, where we have a job description that we have a great degree of confidence in that's really only received a kind of slight modifications and changes over time. This is one that we want to be flexible and nimble enough to be responsive to change or to go in a slightly different direction, but also give this person a good roadmap for what it was we wanted to do. So it's, again, kind of trying to balance that prescription versus kind of open interpretation as well. So we want to prescribe some very specific duties and things we wanted to see in the first year, but also be open to the thought that we're going to learn a lot, from this individual, whomever he or she will be. And I think that will be very good for us as an employer to just hear about this person's experiences and what they have to share with us so that we can make our future recommendations to the city commission and make sure that we're pointing it in the right direction. So with that, I should just ask Jill too if she has any other thought on that and just the pattern about how we do new and how we do different in the city organization.
Yeah, I think you described it very well. When we have a really new focus area, as Mike said, it's not uncommon to begin in a contract position. And I think that would need to be a discussion, with our candidates during that interviewing process as well, looking at what their future needs are, but also the vision that the city has to continue and the reason for the contract to really allow for the development of the position and the development of this as a full program area for the city. So I understand the question and the concern, and I'm hopeful that throughout the interview process we'll be able to discuss any concerns that candidates have about that time frame and explain the city's vision that this is a role that would continue, just may evolve, and that they'll be a part of that development for that program area and potentially evolution of the position as well.
And so just again, to summarize, Mr. Chair, we just defer to this commission. If you would like to discuss now or perhaps later in your agenda, just the name of the individual who would like to step forward to assist with our selection committee, we will, I should just add, try to get that selection committee together virtually before the interview process, just to talk about interview questions and what it is we want to learn from the candidates, and also use that committee as a sort of a sounding board to just inform them of how we're doing with our recruitment in our selection process. So we're certainly happy to answer any questions about the actual selection, but I just really am appreciative of your participation and support of the position and also of that selection committee. We think that it's very good to include a member from your committee as well as our other committees and staff as well. I think that'll make for a good process. So thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Jill, for coming in. And our next here will be selecting a representative from HRC. And thanks to everyone that had come up to to creating this position, and I hope that will be an ongoing, not just 1 year. But thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest. I mean, I think I would be prepared to suggest in appointing someone from our commission. And I guess I'm going to suggest that you would be the person to represent the the Fargo Human Relations Commission in this process. I think being chair is one aspect. I think the other aspect is the fact that you are in a position very comparable to this. So I think you bring an expertise to the process. So I would put that out there, if you would be agreeable.
I think you're ahead of me, because I was going to call for nomination for someone to serve on that. So I'll take that as the first one before I call for a second. Are there any other nominations?
Mr. Chair, this is Leticia, and I will be on the same page as Barry Nelson.
Are there any other nomination before we go on a roll call? Beside me, would anyone else want to nominate someone? Okay, is there any further discussion? Are we there? Okay, hearing no discussion or further nomination, is there a second for nomination?
I second.
Miranda, please call the roll.
Okay. And was that Carolyn? I didn't catch who that was.
It's me, Hamida.
Hamida. Thank you, Hamida. Okay. So we have Beecraft, Carolyn,
Hello, can you hear me?
yes,
Okay, I vote yes.
Sharif Abdouali,
Yes.
Barry Nelson,
Yes.
Hamida Dakane,
Yes.
Cody Severson,
Yes.
Cheryl Schafel,
Yes.
Ahmed Shiel.
Is that for the nomination?
This is for Matur to serve on the selection committee.
Yes.
Leticia Hillerud.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Miranda. Our next item here, I would like to open this agenda item by reminding commissioners and the public that the nomination form for this year, City of Fargo Mlk Day Human Relation Award, closed tomorrow, which is December 18. Today, Rich Partner is looking for 3 to 5 volunteers from the HRC to review and select the award winners. This process has a tight timeline. Volunteer must complete a score matrix by 10 in the morning on December 22nd, and a virtual meeting will be held on December 23rd to determine the winners. May I please have 3 to 5 commissioners members volunteer at this time?
This is Cody. I'd volunteer for that.
This is Carolyn. I'll volunteer for that.
Thank you. I need 3 more. You want me to pick on you guys?
Please do.
Hamida, pick you.
I just asked you to pick someone else, not me, but fine, I'll do it.
Okay.
Semantics.
2 more. I pick Ahmed to chill. Will that work?
Yes, Chair.
Awesome. Any other volunteer? How many do we have?
You got that I volunteered, right?
What's that?
This is Carolyn. You got that I volunteered, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You and Cody volunteered, and I picked 2.
Got it.
One more. All right, I'll volunteer too. Thank you. And instead, we'll connect you to reach partners up to today's meetings. The next item here is MLK Day discussion. I will turn this agenda item over to planning staff, who will introduce the topic and turn it over to reach partners.
Thank you, Chair. If we could actually just briefly go back to the previous agenda item. We did not realize this when we put it in the packet, but 5 would be a quorum. So Mature, if you would maybe reconsider the list of volunteers. We had Cody, Carolyn, Hamida, Ahmed, and yourself.
So how many are we looking?
Max 4.
So we're kicking the tour out.
Okay, I'm out.
Thank you, Cody.
I meant that lovingly, I promise.
It's okay. That's good.
Thank you. Yes, Miranda pointed that out behind me as we were going through. Yes, sorry. Going back to the MLK discussion, I would just like to take a moment to introduce our partners at REACH, Anita and Rachel. And they've spent a little bit of time. They've previously worked on the HRC MLK Day event. And so they had some experience with this and other events in the community as well. And they also had the connections and knowledge of some of the previous year's volunteers. So they had an opportunity to get in touch with some of those volunteers and have conversations, about this year's event. There's a memo in your packet near the end, I think about page 13, which just details their findings in writing. And I'm going to turn it over to them just to lead you in a little bit of discussion about this year's event. So Anita and Rachel, I'm not sure who wanted to take it away, but the floor is yours.
Rachel, we're not hearing you, or at least maybe that's just me. Still not.
No luck?
Oh,
Okay.
there, now we are.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Apologies. Again, my name is Rachel Osselson, and I'm one of REACH partners. Anita is also here with me. And in the past years, we've had the great pleasure to have been a part of the MLK planning and execution of an event in January, celebrating MLK and celebrating the winners of the MLK HRC Awards. This year, as it is, has been a different year. So the city staff asked us to interview past committee members for the MLK event and to see what we could possibly produce for 2021. And we came up with the recommendation that the MLK Awards be awarded during a commission meeting around the MLK Day, so either the 11th or the 25th of January. That, by tying it directly to the commission, it actually involves the commission in that activity. It's gets to elevate those winners as well. We also made the recommendation that the dollars that would normally be earmarked to actually produce an event, because there is a significant dollar amount to actually do so, that be earmarked for activities later in the summertime when we can actually gather, and those dollars be earmarked for to sponsor organizations or individuals or organizers who are producing either events or activities within the community. So using those dollars as a sponsorship rather than the city or the HRC actually producing an event for this 2021, excuse me. Yeah, so those are two recommendations from Reach Partners. We'd love to entertain any questions or other items.
Sounds good.
Yes, thank you. Karen, do you have anything?
I think we just wanted to leave the space for any questions or discussion from the commissioners. So if no one has anything.
Any question?
Yeah, this is Barry. Just a clarification. So it appears that this is a significant departure, and I understand with the idea that we would not be able to hold an event in person. I assume then you said the conversation with volunteers is that the idea of looking at a virtual event honoring on the day of Martin Luther King holiday was just thought of not being an appropriate replacement to in-person gathering. Is that a fair feedback that you received?
I would not say that it was inappropriate by any means, that a virtual event would be inappropriate. Rather, that a virtual event would be difficult to produce in the amount of time that we had to gather volunteers and gather and actually develop an event that is very different than what has been done in the past in person. So it's not about that it's inappropriate, it's absolutely appropriate. It's just, it was a part of constraints of time, and that would include staff time as well.
This is Carolyn. I have a question, and I have not been a part of this before, so forgive me if it's basic, but how then will you publicize and acknowledge the winners? Is there a press release that goes out? Is there a newspaper story that goes out covering this? What kind of acknowledgement do these winners receive?
Carolyn, that is a wonderful question. So in addition to honoring the awardee winners during the commission meeting, we'll produce a video, which is similar to what we've done in the past. We'll also develop a communication plan that will include a press release and social media pushes, and also using that video on social media to highlight and lift up those award winners.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Anita, for coming. Thank you. Our next item, as a commission, we have Form 3 work groups. We ask that each group try to have a virtual meeting before today's HRC meeting. With that, I'll call on Group 1 to chair 1 to 2 minutes. Cody and Carolyn, can one of you?
Carolyn, do you want to go?
1 to 2 minutes.
Cody and I have met. We have been working on an issue. We're not ready to bring it forward yet, but we have met, and we are doing our research as we speak. But we have met and had a video conference on a number of occasions. So we are moving forward, and stay tuned. How's that, Cody?
I can agree with that. That's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair enough. I'll also call on group 2. So myself, Leticia, Abdulwali, and Hamid. Could one of you provide 1 to 2 minutes? I know we met yesterday, but I didn't show up. So
you did somehow. So anyway, maybe not for the whole time. This is Leticia, and I have been volunteered to report on behalf of the group that worked on goal number 2. And goal number 2, a reminder for those who may not have the notes, it's increase and promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-discrimination practices within the city government. So our group discussed, first of all, we agreed that this is an appropriate work item to include in this plan. And our group identified and discussed a few first steps. So today I'm going to share 7 of them. One of them was to use the IDI, or the Intercultural Competency Development, as a tool to assess how city employees deal with cultural differences. And then number 2, the group thought that the city could recognize publicly other cultural holidays the same way Christmas or Thanksgiving or other, mainstream holidays are acknowledged, whether it's on the Facebook page or the city website, and any platforms that where the city advertises or makes some post or like acknowledgement of these holidays. And some of these cultural holidays include, but are not limited to, Diwali, Ramadan, Eid, Hanukkah, New Chinese Year, and many more. So number 3, our group suggested that the city should consider having audits of different guiding documents, and also reviewing the language used in the city mission, vision, and values to reflect a commitment to goal number 2. And then the fourth item that we discussed was reviewing the different practices like hiring or service contracting, and make sure that that it's as inclusive as it can be, or at least that there are some efforts to reach a diverse partners. 6, dedicating infrastructure and resources as needed to reach goal number 2. And 7, to create an equity and inclusion plan. So that's what I have in my notes. I don't know if Abdiwali, Matur, or Ahmed would like to add anything.
Oh, you did great. Thank you. And next, I'm going to call on group 3, which is Hamida, Barry, Nelson. Were you able to meet? If yes, could one of you provide 1 to 2 minute summary of your calls and next steps? Can we all mute too?
Yeah, I thought about that. Well, we met and we had a conversation about we were doing goal number 3, and that is to promote growth community-wide effort related to advancing diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-discrimination. So, well, we did a lot of talking, but we don't have a solid information to give, but we touched a lot of we had a lot of interesting conversation. And the first thing we want to do is to learn. There's some terminology that were used in here that we didn't know. All of us, we didn't have an idea of it. Barry pointed that I think Letitia and someone else have represented that to the city, to the team, but I was not there. So we agreed that we will follow up that to understand more with Letitia. And also we just discussed about why we don't have diversity in the city of Fargo. We know we want to make it inclusive for everyone, but then, they say charity begins home, and we don't even have any, like things we talked about were more of what is restricting the city to hire people of color within the city government itself. And, many more of that, which I say we don't have a solid report to give, but our conversation is ongoing. And once we have something to share, we will wish nothing to change in the way the planning department put these questions. We had nothing to add, but we agree with everything, and we are trying to find a solution, or we're trying to put our opinions together to come up with a solution to these questions. Barry, if you may add anything I left. I'm trying to remember everything, and it's been a week, so my brain doesn't work that good of late.
We have our next meeting scheduled for next week, and we will invite the teacher to join us at that meeting. So we're moving on.
Yeah, thank you, Amita and Barry. And the next item is the staff report. Here, and I think we have Lieutenant Benson going to speak, and then I'll turn it over to Karen.
All right.
Speak on number 3. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. George Benson with the police department. And as your liaison, I kind of have been thinking about this a little more. I'd like to provide some more updates on a more regular basis to you guys on happenings within the police department, that kind of thing. And for today, I'd just like to talk about a number of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to speak at the LGBTQ plus summit, the North Dakota Summit, a number of weeks ago. And I gave a presentation about our community engagement team, similar to what I've given to the HRC here. And we had great dialogue after that presentation, talking about appropriate connections and maybe training for police departments. And I committed at that time to trying to find ways to provide better training to the officers. I also learned about a situation locally here in Fargo that occurred, that while it wasn't a malicious act by an officer, it was one of a lack of understanding that happened in the schools with one of the students. And so we had the opportunity last week to hear from an expert in the field, and had that training at the police department. And it was very thought-provoking, and I was really glad that in the end didn't become just something to check the box for us. It was very impactful. After the instructor left, officers had a great deal of dialogue with each other, with our LGBTQ plus liaison officer to learn more about what the issue is. And one of the things that was my key takeaway, I guess, that I want to share with the group, we want to be a positive influence for those kids in the schools. And suicide rates are higher amongst LGBTQ plus students. And one of the statistics that was shown is if a student or a youth doesn't have a trusted adult in their life, the suicide rates are 3 times higher. And so we kind of challenged ourselves as an SRO group to try to be that trusted adult so that we could have an impact there. And so I just wanted to share that, with you guys. The public are the police are the public. We're your police department, and I feel like that's something I needed to share with you. So thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you, Lieutenant Benson. Thank you. That was great. I'll turn it to Karen, and then we can have question follow up.
Chairman, could I just feedback? I just wanted to let Lieutenant Benson know that the presentation at the LGBTQ plus summit had great impact. In fact, as a result of that presentation, a number of people who were from the Bismarck area went back and visited with their police department there, and it grew out of your presentation. So commendation to you and Officer Noel for the presentation.
Thank you. Any other question or comment for Officer Benson? Okay, here none, I'll turn it over to Karen to speak on item number 3.
Thank you, Chair. So for the Planning Department, the last month, we have continued to be focused on spending the federal relief funds that have come through the Planning Department for COVID-19. So focusing a lot on the basic human needs, food, housing, and also supporting the shelters as well. So those two items are pretty similar to last month's staff report, but I did want to draw the Commission's attention to number 3 in the staff report. So after last meeting, I distributed just a couple of questions related to the meeting frequency and structure and liaison position discussions. I've gotten 3 of those back so far, but I am looking for feedback from all Commission members. So I'm going to redistribute that today. If you have not responded, please do so by the end of the year. And for those that I haven't heard from, I'll be scheduling calls in the new year just so that we can get everyone's feedback on these important issues. And also, just as a reminder for the MLK nominations, those are available online at fargond.gov/MLK. So just a nice short link there instead of our normal hyperlinks to get you to that nomination form. And they can either be electronically submitted or physically submitted as well. But electronic is best since that is tomorrow. Those are the items I had for the staff update, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any question or comment?
I had a little trouble hearing at the beginning, but if this hasn't already been done, I want to congratulate Ahmed on his award that he got from the city of Moorhead. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations to Ahmed for winning Human Rights Awards for the work that he does in our community. Congratulations, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you all. I appreciate that. Such an honor.
Thanks. Okay. For the next agenda item, I want to point HRC members' attention to 2021 meeting calendar. No action is required. It is included for your information. Please remember, as we proceed along our discussion about the meeting frequency and structure, the calendar may change. Okay, does anyone have any announcements?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner.
Bear with me. I'm having microphone problems, so I'm on my phone and on video. But I would like to thank everybody for their public service this year. It's been a really challenging, trying year, and you've all stepped up to the plate and delivered tirelessly. We have immense amounts of work to do going forward, but give yourselves a pat on the back and thank you for your public service. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you too for all that you do for our city. Any other announcements? Is there any other business? Hearing none, this meeting of the Human Relations Commission is staying adjourned. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 21st at noon. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day and have a happy holiday.